All right, everybody, welcome back to Gear Talk. This is episode 3, I believe. I'm here with the hosts of Gear Talk, Neva and Arc of Bane. They are from EXE. Neva, why don't you give your quick little intro?
What's up, y'all? I am Neva. Just here to talk about some stuff and try to help some player development and everything. We're here to just give out some good knowledge and information and have a good chat today and get some good discussions going. Bane, on to you, sir.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm here because I'm bored and this is my hobby. The end.
You always have amazing intros. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. I'm going to mute myself. Have fun and enjoy.
Alrighty. All right. So first off, we was having a pretty, solid discussion, a little bit earlier and everything, but we'd like to get that on this channel and everything like that. But first thing, do we have anybody with some questions? We just see some new people in the group and everything. Do we have anybody with questions that they had for anything? Screwy, Dora. Really, everybody wants stage fright.
Interrupt you said he had questions.
That is not a start question. What you guys were talking about earlier, I think, would be something a lot better asked.
I didn't.
What were we talking about earlier?
Oh yeah, you missed it, man. We were just talking about some different things with the Orochi and everything, and what can make them effective, and the difference between the builds that you have for Orochi and everything as well. But was this
Ooh, my least favorite topic because I don't ever use Orochi.
yeah. Yeah, we was getting some pretty good knowledge from Wild about it and everything. Just simply stating that sometimes people that excuse me, sometimes there's like a couple of different builds with their Orochis is all, and we're just getting some really good knowledge what Wild was offering and everything. Pretty much what he was saying and all that is with tanking, you have the tank version of Orochis, and then you have the ones that we're looking at is like damage dealing Orochis and everything. Ones that's meant to sit there and take the hits and be the anchor, and ones that sit there and still be an anchor but still do some damage in the process. And we're just talking about the different builds between those and everything, and like what pieces of gear would be good on what type of Orochi you're building at that point.
Yeah, it's rather self-explanatory. One is tank, the other one is tank with damage.
Yep.
Yeah, it's common sense.
Yeah. So what would you go for something like that? Like if we were trying to accomplish like a full blown tank, what would you go into personally? Do you feel like what kind of equipment would you be running?
Yeah, it has to be 10 lang because it's the only one with damage reduction and pen. I mean, technically, you could do the lucky nodding if your objective is not to do anything but tank, but generally speaking, the trigger rate Orochi doesn't really need. So 10 lang for damage reduction and pen. Then weapons would be usually like an Aldebaran, but Broken Fortress, or just 2 Aldebarans, because there's not really that many tank options. You can run assault shields, but they're just not as good late game. Plus, if you have a 10 lang, you might as well go for full pen, etc. So, dual Aldebarans, you can have the full tank, full pen. And then if you have a Broken Fortress, use that. Chest piece would be Megrez for the cheap one, and Hectabolus for the expensive one. Maybe an Ambition if you're looking to go all crit with her, but generally speaking, if you're using dual Aldebarans, you probably don't have to. You would have to do your own testing with that, especially considering you're most likely crit with her Awakened. So an Ambition's really only going to help you versus high crit enemies, in which case it might not even be enough, so you'd probably be better off going for HP. Hectabolus is just the tankiest piece out there. It's got the highest HP plus the trigger rate, whereas Megrez is a little less HP, but it has resistance. which is good versus like the debuff comms like Stella, Craig, Elf, other Orochis ish. And then for pants, if you're just going for tank, Regulus or Beetlejuice generally, Nanto now is an option. The accuracy is more useful on the damage build because it'll help you stack leverage,
Mm-hmm.
which stacks when you land awakening hits and other hits. It's to ramp damage and helps land tier space for a tank build, I guess. Yeah, Nanto would probably be the best option. It's got crit weather, damage reduction, accuracy. But if you're running Hectabolus, you might actually consider running a Beetlejuice because of RWE. Being a tank with absolute defense, you're not super overly worried about Sui, but it's a consideration nowadays
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes,
of
because
the
there's some sweeping in.
Sui pen builds, etc. Especially if you're running if you're running Hectabolus, you'll have no RWE anywhere if you run Nanto, which is another reason why Megrace is a consideration over Hectabolus at times, is because it has RWE on it, which you might need. Yeah, that's basically it. Tank gear,
Yeah,
Regulus, Beetlejuice, Nanto.
yeah.
The options don't really change that much. For the offensive build, you would just switch out a weapon with an Alcade or something. Maybe go for all attack gems instead of accuracy, something like that. The build doesn't change that much.
Fair enough. But either way, it's gonna be like a high end build, so you can't throw like you know, I mean, if you want it to perform well, I mean, you can run it with some assault shield or something like that, but you can't really run a
No,
big Orochi with assault
Orochi's not
shields.
cheap. Orochi's not cheap. If you're going for cheap, run Reinhardt. You can get the same essential effect with Reinhardt with way cheaper gear. You're just
Mm-hmm.
not gonna win. You're not gonna win as much. Orochi's not there to pick apart enemies like Reinhardt can do with hyperspace armor. He's there to do nothing but be a wall. Like he will clear 30 enemies as opposed to 4. That's the difference. As long as you have the right setup versus the right enemy. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things now that can counter Orochi. Yeah. But Orochi's not cheap. Reinhardt's cheaper than Orochi in that sense.
Yep, I agree. I gotta agree with that. So, like, there was a discussion of whether you would choose the ambition over the Magrez earlier as well, before we was able to actually get on the call and everything like that. And personally,
No.
I feel like a Magrez is a better
Personally,
option.
yeah, no. Ambition is not, I repeat, not a tank piece. It is a utility piece for when you need crit wither, when you need RWE, or when you need pure suppression. It's a universal piece that you can swap in between one slot bust, offense, defense, or utility builds. It's
Yep.
not a tank piece. If you're going for a tank build, that should be a swap in piece, generally speaking.
And what do we think about this bar blood?
I don't like it. Don't like it at all. It has no attack. I mean, no HP. It's squishy. Like it works well, I think, versus low damage enemies, etc. Someone who's not going to kill you in one hit. But versus high damage, it just tanks your survival massively. It's got 0 HP, 0 defense. Defense doesn't matter that much because penetration ignores it. But that does affect your utility on other builds, like, say, best offense on black, if you were to swap out gear. But, like, straight up 0 HP on the chest piece is not generally wise for a tank. And it's
Yeah.
hard to gauge how useful the skill itself is, especially if you're fighting a high damage black or puppet master. That's just not going to do it. Versus in a long drawn out fight, I don't know. It's hard to say, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, generally speaking, no.
Okay.
And what's the other stat? Tier suppression? That's pointless on a com that you're going to run with tier 2 2/3 of the time. So you
Okay.
get resistance out of it, which that's fine. Resistance is a decent tank stat. So you get tier suppression and resistance. It's just not survival. It's utility stats on a supposedly tanky piece. It doesn't make any sense.
Sometimes the description of the things can be a little bit weird to understand. But at the same, I agree with you on that particular aspect. Let's actually ask one of our Orochi mains and everything. Wild, what do you think? What is your outtake on Orochi and how it should be ran, whatever.
Well, so far everything Bane has said, I 100% agree with, and honestly, even with the bar blood, I really do have to agree with you, Bane. And I'm looking to swap mine out with a Megrez, hopefully soon. Before I upgrade to Hecat or however the hell you say that. But yeah, I do
Hectobulus?
agree. It's more of a utility tank piece than it is anything else. HP is definitely far more preferable, and yeah, the tier suppression really is kind of useless.
And Wild, you've been an Orochi main for quite some time now, right?
Yeah, I have probably well over a year, if not closer to two.
And
And I
over
got
his
my Bar Blood when it
go ahead.
first came out, and
Mhm.
what really drew me to it was that Iron Wall effect. And I've seen times where it works very well, and it does make a noticeable difference, and other times it does not seem to make a difference at all. That being mostly now with the tank blacks, when they first started coming out, that chess piece was more or less useless to me.
So you'd rather switch over to the Megrez in that aspect then for sure, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Megrez is definitely the number one choice there if you're not getting the Hecata Ballest or whatever.
I hate the chess feast.
Yeah.
The way I say it is Hecate Bolus.
Nobody cares at Rachi. Get to bed.
No, I'm wide awake.
Leo, did you have any more questions? Like any more questions about? Because I know you're thinking about Orochi and everything. Did you have any more questions regarding Orochi and what like?
Okay, I'm gonna show my Reinhardt gear, and we go from there. I'm switching to Reinhardt and to Orochi. See, I'm gonna jump to the. I'm gonna change phones because I have two phones with me. Let me change and share my screen.
Okay.
One sec. Really quick.
Did we just lose him?
Oh, no, you guys see me?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear
Yep. I just quite slow. Share my screen. How do you share my screen? I'm stuck. Sorry.
you. All right, hold on.
How do you share my screen? How do you share your screen?
Hold on, brother. I got you. All right, you watching the stream? All right. So, do you see this little
Yes.
drop pull up menu?
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yep. Down the bottom. I remember now. Sorry.
You're
So
good,
bad.
buddy.
Drop it up. Yep.
Let me get out of my screen now and go to yours. Hold on.
Okay. Everybody see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Let me change that to chat English.
You didn't have to.
Okay. He is my Orochi.
That's Reinhardt.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Fang. That's my Reinhardt. I'm using that on my
Best Orochi I ever saw.
Reinhardt. Sorry. Yes. Using the AI one,
Mm-hmm.
and the headpiece is a knocking nodding. 2 Elder Baron and 1 Magriz. And the pets, I have 2 options. 1 Beetle Guys, and 1 Regulus.
Okay.
Okay, now the gear is pretty low. attack, as Wall said. Orochi has no attack. Now for my gem, I have Lynx, which I think Wall has the same thing. The difference is I have Canes for Sister Wolf. I have very close to. I used to have Cepheus, which I don't have now. 3 set Hercules and 3 set Cassiopeia. Instead of Canes, what else am I missing? What else am I missing in gems?
So on mine, I run full Hercules, full Scorpio, full Lynx, 3-piece Cassiopeia, and then 3-piece
Orpheus.
3-piece Cepheus. There we go.
All right. So my question and everything like that for for people that don't know, you're transitioning over because for the Rochi, you're still going to want to be able to actually do damage because with Reinhardt, you rely on your hyperspace damage to kill the slots, right? With the Rocher, you're going to rely on his hits as well. So you're going to want to make sure you have that guaranteed hit in there. So that's one of the major difference right there between Reinhardt and Rocher. You don't necessarily need a guaranteed hit with Reinhardt unless you want your T12 placeholders to hit, but you don't necessarily need it, technically speaking. And versus with Rocher, you're going to want it a lot more often. So that would be something I add out. I take out off Canes and add to that. I agree with that personally. Now, Canes is a good option for Canes is a good option for Sister Wolf, but if you're transitioning over to Orochi, then I mean, you still gonna have to worry about some Sister Wolves and everything like that, but not as the more commons that we see. That you see. You know what I mean?
Cool. So I'm changing from full Lynx, full Hercules, 3-piece Cepheus, 3-piece Cassiopeia, and 4 sets Scorpio. Cool. I remember that now. Nice. Yay. I wonder, is my gear high enough? What should I eat my gear?
My opinion with Reinhardt, it's a lot more forgiving in terms of gear level. So there's a level 45 Reinhardt, for instance, that we're constantly seeing from CNJ, and he just tears through everything with level 45 gear.
Versus with the Orochi, the gear levels do need to be up. Yeah, the gear levels need to be up higher with the Orochi than for sure. That's why Orochi is more the high end tank of the airships and everything like that. Reinhardt, you still see uses and everything, but it also depends on what kind of Orochi or Reinhardt you're building too, right? So it depends on what style of play you're doing. If you're in CAS versus if you're in GC and things like that as well, if you're fully planning on running a just strictly CAS Orochi, then the build may be different or the gym layout may be different, So just to throw that out there.
Cool. Okay. Orochi hyperspace armor.
No.
It's used to be a work.
Great idea.
Yeah, hyperspace armor.
That'd be just about as great as Rogers with energy armor.
Hey, don't diss Rogers with energy armor. That was what I used for the longest time.
I know. I got that leveled up quite a bit actually.
Yeah, I still have Rogers at 20k. I used to have energy armor at level 30, but now I switched to absolute defense, which is significantly better.
My Rogers has level 23 energy armor.
Slacker.
Yeah, I know. I do want to get that level up to 30 actually, just for tiles.
Cool.
And we could do a whole episode on good commanders for tile farming.
Yeah,
Tile
tile
farm.
farming's it's not complicated.
And to catch
It's
people ambushing your tiles, there's good commanders for them.
King and Ira
Yeah.
sometimes.
Nah, it's more it's the gear and the commander. Like, to be honest, any commander that you use for utility, Sui, high damage with low risk. So Stella, Sister Wolf, Hancock, King and Ira can work, but they have to have some troops on there to, kill anything. They don't ramp.
Stella,
Gilly's good.
Gilly. Yeah, Gilly's
Full
good.
metal is not Full metal is not a terrible option, although
So a
problem.
good suppression com actually can be effective as well because a lot of people, I mean, they might throw some T12 placeholders on there and everything like that, but a lot of people that you see are running with T11 below, so you actually can get you a nice little tier suppression combination in there too. So, and it also can be effective in battles actually as well. It's
Yeah,
one of
like
those utilities. It's one of
I
those
just use my
utilities.
main 5 columns.
What do you? I'm sorry. What were you
I
saying?
just use my main 5 commanders. This
Yeah.
and try to set them up in a way that they aren't going to be useless if someone attacks them.
Yep. At that point, you want to think about formations and everything as well. Any more questions, Leo?
Oh, see. I see new people joining. Anybody have questions as well?
We're here to help, guys. Just ask away.
In the new meta, I don't play in the highest level, but if you were to get like a Sister Wolf and get the talents leveled up decently, would they in CAS, especially in CAS, would against all these Reinhardts, would Sister Wolf with Lucky Nodding, Assault Shields, maybe a Titan in there with Ambition and Fire Spirits be good enough to kill them?
To kill Reinhardt, you said?
Yeah, the Reinhardts
It
and maybe some
depends on the
Orochi.
Reinhardt. If you've got the right skill set up and enough damage, assault shields are okay. I would recommend Titans though if you have to have a weapon just randomly. Like, assault shields just aren't really damage oriented, but
Yeah,
they're not the worst.
I
It
was,
depends on the Reinhardt because a lot of Reinhardts actually kind of suck, especially if they're just using a random 200k Reinhardt with plus 30 gear to hit a tile because they have one. You can kill a lot of them. But the high end Reinhardts, they're doing solid against Sister Wolf nowadays, especially with the new AI.
Yes.
You're just gonna bounce off. But it depends. Like, you'll have to have good triggers, etc. In CAS, you might get lucky. You have to have the right plugin. You have to have the right talents. Like, if they've
yeah,
got canes, or whether they have canes or not, whether you have power of walkers or not, you can win. It depends on the Reinhardt.
yeah, I
Also, like,
would put
dodge.
a
I'm gonna
Because
go
if
ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and say probably with
Antares
the
is
Reinhardts now.
instead of
No.
Ambition, my bad.
Yeah,
I prefer.
if you're fighting a big guy and he's using his Reinhardt to hit everything, and he's using tier 12 holders, the answer is no. You're gonna lose most of the time, unless you've got a really good Sister Wolf build.
Coming from a sister wolf main, I'm gonna say no, I don't personally feel like that would work as well as some other options. Like Vane said, I would not use the assault shield over a Titan, for sure. Now, as far as chest piece and everything, I mean, you want some tear suppression in there. So I mean, the ambition is actually a better choice over that than the Antares for sure, because you got some tear suppression in there. You don't
Okay,
want
so I
the
was
Antares is.
considering a Titan with the assault shield instead.
Mm, mm-mm.
And
The the
but since
assault
it'd
shield
be a
does nothing.
regular, but since it'd be a
Is this
regular
shield
tier
using?
12 HP, it would. I was thinking that maybe assault shields and the
No,
HP on the assault shields might be better. So I wasn't sure which one
No.
no.
for the
Your tier
weapons
space
to
is
go
going to
with.
be your tier space is going to be meh either way when you're using 1, 2 tier 12. That's not going to make a difference versus Reinhardt. It might make a little bit of a difference versus, like, say, a sweet commander that hits you or whatever. Generally speaking, though, you don't need that much HP to get some value from your tier space. You want to focus on the attack damage.
Yep.
Okay, so stick with my first idea and make sure that I run a Titan.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a hybrid tier space attack build. That's not a thing. You're either an attack build or you're in a tank build, and Sister Wolf is not a tank commander, so she gets no value from that. Like, it's not completely useless, but it's just not an efficient way to do anything. If you
Okay.
see that your commander is an attack commander, you use attack gear, and if it's a tank commander, you use tank gear. There's no such thing as a hybrid tier space attack commander. Unless you're weird like me and my Stella. That's the thing.
Or Mimo Wolf.
How do we feel about Sweet Pen on Sister Wolf if you're building a utility Sister Wolf like 20 Cat?
It could actually be
Uh,
effective in certain aspects. So it
Sweet
all depends on
Sweet
what you're
Pen's a
fighting.
great thing. Sweet Pen is a great set. You automatically have full pen, so no matter what you do, a full pen set is going to be semi-useful. The difference then is whether the Sweet will have effect. So if it's a Reinhardt, probably not unless you're running tier 11 infantry. And if you're running tier 11 infantry, they're still going to beat you with their holders if they run tier 12 at all. So the difference is primarily just going to be the damage that you do. The Sweet Pen usually has tier suppression, which will help versus, say, tier 1, tier 2 that they send at you. Like, overall, in general, the Sweet Pen set is just solid because it has so many uses. Specifically versus Reinhardt, no. It's not going to be that much different than even an attack set, because your damage is still comparably low on a Sweet Pen set.
Yeah.
But if you have Ruthless, that improves it significantly because you have trigger rate as well. That's massive, which is why I tell everyone to stop trying to get the Quantum Helm. It's cheaper, but if you can get a Ruthless, that's what you should do. Like, the only time I would,
I do agree. 100% agree with that.
because, like, the Ruthless is just such a good piece for utility builds in general. You can run it just like I do on my Stella with Fire Spirit Pants, and so you can run a full V2 pen set, which also has max trigger, well, not max, but high trigger rate. And you could throw that on a Sister Wolf, you could throw that on a Stella, you could throw that on any one slot bust and still have damage. And you could throw it on any utility set, and then you can throw in some roses and a assault pants, and you have a Sweet Pen set. It's a very good piece to have if you want, like, a functional universal type deal. It's a lot like Ambition. Sweet Pen on Sister Wolf's a great set to throw on a tile because it's pen. Anyone who hits you had better be strong enough to survive your hit.
Yep.
If it's Reinhardt, they most likely will still beat you. It depends on whether or not what troops you use and whether they're using tier 12 to hit your tile and whether you have the advanced trigger rate. It's not an exact science. Just sending to a tile, you just want to hope that your comm's effective in general. Not everyone attacks tiles with Reinhardt.
And I do agree. And I used to actually run a Sweet Pen Sister Wolf last cast and everything like that. Never relies heavy on the talents you have and everything like that. To actually be effective with the T11 infantry. So there's a lot of things that came into play when I was running the Sweet Pen Sister Wolf, doing Casteton and everything. For example, I had to have power of infantries. I had to. There's no choice about it. And that, like for that extra attack, that helps you ramp up your damage. And then I also had to run Purifying Barrage. That Purifying Barrage was allowed me to be able to actually effectively shut down the Reinhardt enough to where I could actually deal the damage I needed to deal to actually beat through it. Now, like Bane said, if there was a T12 placeholder, it did go through it. It was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If there's a T12 placeholder, it did go through it, unless because it's essentially a lot of Reinhardts, a lot of tank builds already have RWE built in automatically. So your squeeze not going to take effect for when you're facing those tankier builds, such as your Reinhardts and your Orochis. Now, if they have a Nanto Hexa, then yeah, of course. But at the same time, a lot of people run T12 Origins in the placeholders, which that means that they can still tier space damage you. So your T11 infantry still can get hit and still take that tier space damage. So your Sweetie necessarily isn't effective against it in that aspect. So it's all relying on your pin and your damage that you're dealing, plus that combination of those two talents was able to actually do pretty good.
Yeah, but like generally speaking, you're talking about 1 out of 5 commanders and tile hits. You send what you think will be effective. It's not that big a deal. It's a tile.
Exactly.
You're gonna lose 3 out of 5 tiles and cast regardless. Get over it.
Yeah, you will. It's Cass. Any more questions? Good question, by the way. But in other words, yeah, this always have. I do believe that there's sets that arts should build and everything if they are working towards something. A sweep in set can be effective. I would say I do suggest having one at one point in time. That I do think that they're a very good utility. They can fit on a lot of different things and do a lot of different, help you out a lot of different ways.
Yeah, if you're small, start with Sweet though. Sweet Pen is an advanced set. If you don't have plus 40 gear to throw away,
Yeah.
don't do it.
True.
And just for the listeners, what exactly is a sweep pen set?
It's Quantum Module and/or Ruthless, which is 5% base pen, and I think 20% base Sui, I think, and then Ruthless has trigger rate, and
40,
Quantum Module's got
40%,
plasma special
40%,
skill.
40% base Sui.
That's higher than I thought it was. Anyway, and then weapons would be roses because they got Sui and they got pen. Lowish damage because it's 20% base attack, so not that great for damage. Which is the main problem with the set in general, is it lacks damage for a pen set, which is why it relies on its utility usage and just the overall usefulness of having full pen. But
Yep.
then pants are usually assault pants for the maximum Sui. That set at plus 40, I think, gives you about 600% Sui, so it's about as useful as plus 30 Sui set in that regard. It's higher, way higher damage though, so you can use it without having to use a ramp commander like Hancock or Sister Wolf specifically. You can use it for 1-slot busts, as well as using it like a Sui set for utility with ramp commanders at low lead.
Yep.
It's just a high damage Sui set essentially. You got full pen, you got Sui. It's pretty self-explanatory. It does not work with destructions. It does not work with rabbit ears. That's a Sui set, not a Sui pen set. You have to have full pen, or at the very least, be working towards full pen. Because at plus 40, you're not going to get there, especially because the helm is 5% base pen. So to get 100% pen, you have to have three-piece Andro. And normally, when you're using a 6% base helm, you have to have a 45 helm, 45 weapon, 3-piece Andro, and Dawn Hull. That gives you 100% pen, with the other weapon being at 40. So for Sweep Pen, you have to be closer to all 45 gear and maybe have some gems like Canes, Lynx, and Aquelius. They each have a specialty gem, which maxes out at 3% pen, so you can get a maximum of 9% out of that, which is way too expensive for most people to do because it costs a crap ton to recycle to get a good pen gem, etc. And it also fucks up your gem sets because you have to have one in the helm weapon weird orders. So generally speaking, you're not going to have full pen with a Sweet Pen set unless you're 45 and above gear, and probably throwing in some weird gem sets. Plus three-piece Andro, 2-piece Virgo for the Sui.
And that's one of the downfalls of it, is you have to try, if you can't afford to get the 50, the helmet to 50, you have to start joining into those gyms. So that's what makes the Sweep In a more higher quality set than your normal Sweep, like you said earlier, Ben.
Which is also why I recommend getting Ruthless, because if you're spending enough to get to the 100% pen, I don't recommend putting it on a subpar helmet like Quantum Module, which is considerably cheaper. And if you're going just for the bare minimum cost, is probably the better option. But overall, in general, it's not that difficult to get a Ruthless these days. If you're spending, if you're not spending, you're kind of fucked on a
Okay.
sweet pen set anyway. Just saying.
When does Rufus come? Like in the it comes in a normal event exchange, or is it comes with the coins?
You can get them in Ethercoin events like this. You might see one come up
It's
this event. You
it's
can get them in the what's that Star Sea coin thing? I can never remember the name of the event from the collection room. What are those called?
You mean Starthea Conquest?
Yes.
No, the specialty coins, the ones you get from the bridge packs.
Ah, the skin.
Yeah, you
collection
only
room.
you know what I'm talking about. The ones you have to get the special packs for, and then they have those random
Yeah.
events that you can spend those coins on. It's not the same as Ether coins.
Multiverse coins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good event right there.
those ones you can get Ruthless from that. You can get Ruthless from Ether coin events, and that's so far just about it. I think they offered blueprints a few times other places like Gold Charge type deal. I'm not sure, but Aethercoin events like this one is probably the most common way to get them.
wildly Bane. We gotta fight.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm rotating.
All
I
right.
just lost. Well, actually, I beat the first guy. Holy cow! He gave me 2,400 crystals, and then I lost them all.
All right. Anyway, sorry to interrupt and everything like that. Back to the conversation though. We can go straight back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Ruthless, you get it from events. You're gonna have to spend or save a long time to get it if you're not spending, and if you're not spending, Aether Coin's probably the only way you're gonna get it.
Even spending, I've been sitting at 40 fragments for well over a year now.
Right? No, it's not an easy piece to get. It's not as hard as it was because they're making them cheaper. So it's kind of like the rest of the advanced gear now. You have to save up a bit and splurge specifically for that item, or you're not gonna get it. If you're trying to get it slowly, it's going to take you a long time. Wait for like events like this. They'll probably offer like the eight chests with I think 8 blueprints, and then like 5 chests with 4 blueprints to give you 20. So always grab the cheaper chests because they offer more blueprints for a lower coin cost. You can get 20 per event. That would take you 5 events to get that. So that'd be 500 coins. That's the cheapest way to do it, but that's like you have to wait 5 separate Aether Coin events to do it that way, and that's assuming that they offer it. But that's also the cheapest way to get most gear here of the expensive kind is when they offer 2 types of chests, the 50 coin chest and the 20 coin chests. The 20 coin chests have a limit of 5, but they offer 4 blueprints, so you can get 20 blueprints for 100 coins, mini blueprints. So that will take you 5 events if you do only that. And it'll take you 500 coins, which is comparably cheap actually, but it's a long time in coming. If you do it the more expensive way, it's going to cost you closer to 600, 800 plus.
And how many
coins.
of these events is there a year?
What, 5, 4, 6, some random amount. It's like every 3 months.
So if you could
It's
do
4.
it, so you could easily get it
A
in a
year.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get it. You're gonna
That's
get it a
not
year.
too bad.
And that's assuming you have 100 coins per event and you save only for that one item. If you're spending it all, though, you can get it much cheaper. I mean, not cheaper, easier. Because you technically are going to have more than 100 coins at your disposal per event. Especially if you're spending high quantities during one specific event, it's not going to be hard to get it all. But for free to play, yeah, Quantum Module is way easier. But then again, you're still going to have problems getting your gear level. That, it is what it is.
All right. Any more questions?
That gear ruthless. I don't think I can use it. Can I use it on puppet?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Puppet ignores damage reduction. If assuming you use his weapon, his skill will ignore both damage reduction and HP. So you don't need a formula on Puppet. And you could use Tanling,
It's
but
better than a Tanling.
if I would say it was better for Puppet on it than a Tanling. Tanling's a tanky. It's kind of tank hybrid. It's like the step up from the old V1 Devil's Touch. It's a solid piece. Tanling is, but it's generally speaking more useful for tanks. And once you're getting closer to 50 gear, advanced sets, and all that, it kind of dies out in the one slot bust meta. It's not as useful. It's good for like tank hybrids. Ruthless is the natural progression for damage builds. Formulat is the expensive high damage option, but Puppet specifically does not need a Formulat because he ignores damage reduction at like I think 60% as is. So Ruthless with the trigger rate and the fact that the pen is 5% instead of 4% like Formulat, that's a bonus. Makes it easier to use.
Okay, I'm tossing between a Broken Fortress and Ruthless.
Oh, that's a tough one. Broken Fortress has so many uses because just the ability to block that damage is huge. And with a Tan Lang specifically, on Puppet even, you can run a pretty decent tanky set with his first skill being a tank skill. But, like, utility uses, Ruthless is more versatile.
Yes.
Broken
That's true.
Fortress, it's hard. If you're running tank main, Broken Fortress is kind of a must. I mean, it's not a must, but like if you're picking between Broken Fortress or Ruthless, Broken Fortress is a must.
100%.
If you're running a one slot bust like me, Broken Fortress has less value because there's just so many ways to get around it, especially if you're infantry. It has less value for one slot bust. If I mained a tank, you can use Broken Fortress on a one slot bust. You cannot use Ruthless on a tank. That's the difference. Ruthless has more utility set uses and one slot bust uses. Broken Fortress is straight up solid for any tank and is still nasty on one slot busts.
Okay, then I'll wait for Ruthless to get cheaper. Because it's utility use.
Mm.
I'll save my coins for Broken Fortress.
Yeah, Broken Fortress is definitely a good piece to have for sure, especially if you're tanking. I love my Broken. It actually works really well.
I'm shifting to tank. That's why I'm very much Cool.
Yeah, like I want a Broken Fortress. It's just not worth the cost for what I would be able to use it for, and I don't technically need it. If you're a smaller player, Broken Fortress really is not going to help you out all that much. It'll help you versus other small players, but it's not going to do jack crap versus big guys. But if you're a big guy, you need a Broken Fortress. If you don't have one, you're just behind the meta.
Well, CNJ's kind of going at it here.
That's some fun.
Hey, Walleye's got full metal, and he better not sit there. He sat there.
Yeah, he did indeed.
Anyways, excuse me. Any more questions, guys? Anything concerning particular gear, anything like that? Any other options? Walker comms, airship comms, anything?
Somebody say something.
Actually,
something.
I do have a question about Walker talents. And again, this would be setting up for that utility wolf. Looking at, currently working with blue hunks, but I'm going to be unlocking time walkers. What talent should I focus on and where should I put them?
Power walkers for the front row on time walkers, generally speaking.
Yes. You definitely want to have
That
power walkers right there on your time walking in your front row. What I personally excuse me, what I personally run, excuse me, is I don't know, I'll pull it up. Let me see what's coming real quick. Give me one second.
hey Neva, we got the fort shield on.
I don't know. Hold on one second. Let me check. I killed something.
Yeah, Reinhardt.
It is now.
Okay, I'll send a mail.
I'm pulling. No, not fuck. Come on, man.
So just to clarify, fort shield is on.
Yes.
Okay, mail sent.
Oh no, that was running. Was that the run? Was that? Oh, okay, cool. He has to run T2 for that to work. Nice. Okay. Anyway, so with talents wise, back to the discussion. I'm so sorry, I got distracted. With talent wise in the discussion and everything, what I personally run on mine, because mine's set up a little bit differently, but on my time walkers, I run. I hit the wrong button again. I'm sorry. Healing field, and I know they already have a heal, but the healing field is a heal that's based off the damage that you do on the rage state, so it actually helps out a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I run that. I run power walkers, and I run final defense on my time walkers. On the back row with the hunks, I run interference field, which I can change that out possibly, but I found this the better use for it to have that for it to be having interference field on your hunks for some reason. I just found it more useful for my particular build. But you want to definitely include spread shot in there for sure. And then I run HP on it.
Oh shoot! I am not in the fort circle.
Yeah. Nice job.
You got hit?
Oh
No.
shit! I'm there.
I
good.
just looked at I checked my arc because I'm like, I don't know exactly where the fort was at. I'm not safe. Better
Me
not sit
neither.
there.
Oh, oops.
Be wondering why you got hit.
Yes.
No, I'd be smart. Sometimes.
You see that?
That
But
DS is a bitch.
but to
Nah.
answer your question, though, Wild. I mean, it just really depends on how you're building out the wolf and everything as well. So, like for example, I run the healing field because I got some action in my build, I got some damage in my build, and everything like that. But if you're running like a pure solely based off damage and everything, I mean, that healing field up front could be a nice thing depending on if you're running your hunks up front. You know, that could be a nice thing for you because you'll be healing up some of the troops that you lose back. Versus if you're going to have time walkers for sure, then I do suggest having that on there. Just me personally, because it gives it that extra ability to be able to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tested the what is it? Vengeful attack with healing field that blocks enemy heals, doesn't it? Have you tried any combination with that where you're not running power walkers since you can't do both?
I have not, unfortunately, at this time. I will be honest with you on that. It is a good. I mean, I've thought about it, but I didn't. The power walkers is such a huge skill to
Right,
have.
right. That's the biggest problem is you
Yep.
not having your force skill available in the first round is not really an option.
No.
Which is one of the reasons why I kind of thought Full Metal or Cassius could be useful
Yep.
if they had Aquelius / Dim Light to be able to ramp damage. I'm not sure if that would be enough damage ramp. on those specific commanders. But it would open up a different talent spectrum so that you could block their heals, which would help versus that new AI.
It would actually. You're exactly right. But you have to take damage at that point, and unfortunately, with the T2 Reinhardt at that case, you're not taking damage.
Do you have to take damage, or do you have to like get hit? There's a
No,
difference, because like if
when you
even if
take,
they
you have to
register
take
zero
damage.
damage, so if they register 0 damage, that doesn't count.
It says when taking damage.
Right, but did you test it?
No, I
Seven
need to.
pirate.
Yeah, it is 7 pirates. You
It's
got a good point there, and I do need to test it. I do need to test it. I will. I can actually have. Well, we can run some sims in a little bit and everything and see, because you have that new AI. Actually,
All right.
I can get Dazzle too. So
yeah, like I've wanted to try out some Walker stuff. I'm trying to get my talents in tier 12 unlocked so I can run Sister Wolf. And now that I want to get tier 12 to run Sister Wolf, y'all are telling me that tier 11 infantry is counter assist to Reinhardt. And I'm like, what the?
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
unfortunately, with the new AI and everything like that, in CAS, it is a little bit different. You have to have that combination of certain things to win. No.
be careful, Woody and Jello. You're gonna get tier suppressed. I just know it.
Don't jinx it. Yellow needs those good kills.
Huh?
So don't jinx them being tier suppressed.
Well, if you see a DS or you see a Vega and it's running Origins on a lowish lead, weird looking march, it's tier
Yeah, that's a
suppression.
tier suppression mark.
Guarantee you
Yeah,
it's tier suppression. So
for
if you're
sure.
running tier 11, get out the way.
That guy's going for points.
Ooh, maybe Tombots will get this DS.
Yep.
Well, he won. Don't know if he got him though.
Nah, someone. I lost first strike on the last one.
What? Any other questions? Did that answer your question, Wild?
Yes, it did.
If y'all hadn't noticed, we are distracted.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just a little bit.
So this isn't like a personal question because actually I think can't remember if Bane or Bolt actually talked about this the other day. But what is your opinion on acquiring gear when it comes to gold events like we have right now, where you have to spend 100k gold to get the
Trash.
items? Is there
Trash.
Okay, but is there any a time where you would recommend, or a specific piece of gear that you would recommend actually
Specifically,
spending the gold?
if you're crafting an advanced piece, like say you are just getting your first V2 pen set and you need that one swallow to get your arcade, you might contemplate doing it, because otherwise you could be waiting for 3 months to get another swallow event that's affordable. That's assuming you have the chests, assuming you have the gold, and you're not going to go bankrupt doing this for that one piece of gear. You can do it. But generally speaking, overall, there is almost no reason to spin that stupid roulette wheel. It is a complete abject waste of gold and the dumbest thing Seven Pirates put into this game. Zero value. All the pieces, the Assault Shield, Swallow, Red Pupil, Fire Spirits, Ambition, all those pieces will come up for cheaper if you wait. Like, they might even cost you 1,200 super equipment chests. But 1,200 super equipment chests you can get for free over time, especially if you are waiting. And that is still better than 1,200 super equipment chests and 300k gold. That's just no. There's almost no reason to justify it. If you spent a lot during that specific event, you can do it because you've
There was
got
only
what?
one time when it was good, and then once Seven Pirates found out that we were doing that, they nerfed it.
Right. Like, I've used the roulette wheel once, maybe twice, because I was spending more at the time. I had a lot of gold on me, and I specifically needed one piece to finish crafting an advanced piece, which would push my set significantly. But overall, in general, no. There's no reason to do it, especially if you're free to play or cheap play. That is just a bad idea. All of this gear can be gotten in better events.
I agree with that 100%. Does that answer your question, sir?
Well, he had already
Should
answered
hope
it
so.
in Discord like last weekend, but just for people watching, because
Mm.
it's a good thing to put out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you see an event with a roulette wheel, automatically assume it's trash, and then make judgments based upon your need.
It's
Which
like
overall, in general, most people aren't jumping up 20 levels because they got that one piece of gear, and their effectiveness isn't going to drastically increase. Therefore, the cost is not worth. It does not merit that expense. If it does merit that expense, or you happen to be splurging at the time, you can excuse it once or twice. But
Oh,
overall, no.
that brings out a question. Should I make my mental pants for my mechanical puppet?
You can. Nanto pants are, like, generally speaking, more tank, but especially if you're running a Tanlang, you Puppet's first skill is tank, so it's not the worst hybrid tank build, and Puppet does need accuracy. I would prefer Sunraven pants, although they have lower accuracy. At least they have the crit damage. Like, not now that I say that, it's kind of hard to say that because crit damage is mostly useless.
Yeah, just about to say.
Nanto pants do give you accuracy. The only reason I would do Sunraven is because they are technically more damage oriented, but Nanto does give you more accuracy. So I would definitely say that they're a contender for Puppet, although you would have to weigh the value of that accuracy versus, say, dodge, and whether or not you can justify the kind of waste of the tank stats on Puppet. Because if you're running a tank commander as well, you might want the Nanto for that. It depends on like who your main is, etc., etc. If you have Nanto pants though, they're pretty solid for Puppet because he has to land his hits.
Oh, one slot. Okay, cool. Very hard to.
Like the only other two options really are, other than Sunraven pants, which is essentially the same thing but lower act, more crit damage. The only other options is Fire Spirit for dodge and Overlord. Overlord's just Puppet doesn't really need them for damage. He hits hard enough without them. And that, other than that, they add 0 utility, no survivability. Fire Spirits give you dodge and trigger rate, which can be massive. But if you're not landing your hits, it doesn't help. It depends on the enemy, because a lot of enemies you have to have dodge for. I'm a fan of having multiple pieces to switch between, personally. But got to do what works for you. I recommend accuracy on Puppet.
Cool. And I'll be spending 100k to get the assault pants and the crap.
That does not mean put Boltar on there either.
No. If you still use,
Yeah, don't use
if you're still using Voltar, Magewell, or what's the other one, Nixas, you should be Akshamid. Go sit in the corner.
I use it on my ult.
Yeah, no, they are alt pieces and eatable pieces. That's about all the good they are. Like, I've got, how many of those chests do I have?
They're great for monsters. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but if generally speaking, you should have 5 full sets of gear by now at this stage in the game, unless you're comparably new. If no, there's very little reason to use those aside from very, very early game.
Thing saying 5 sets of piece, 5 sets gear, so that is 25, 40 gear. Right?
I did not say 40 gear. It doesn't have to be 40 gear. I did not say that. I mean, I could.
25,
Most people know. Plus 30 is what you want on your second, third, fourth commander, maybe.
Yeah. Plus
Your
the
your main
melee.
your main you want 40, 45 to 50, and your secondary should have close to 40, 45,
Yeah.
depending on what level you're at. If you're smaller, obviously it drops down, but same scale essentially. Plus 20 gear on your farmers, plus 30 on your secondary, plus 40 on your main. Scale it.
That's a way to do it. Yep. That's what
I guess we can go ahead and conclude Gear Talk for the week. I want to thank everybody for coming. And as always, make sure you go check out Grinch's page, Grinch Gaming. Go like and subscribe to videos and everything. Give him some support. He comes out here to actually, try to get some knowledge for all the players out there. He really does a lot for the community. He's trying hard for the community. So make sure you go support him, man. But other than that, I want to thank everybody for joining today.
All right. We're out.